The USS Abraham Lincoln is in the region of the Gulf now, and that's because Israel needed a war, and they've been there for a very long time, and their deployment has lasted much, much longer than expected because Trump promised us, oh, this Iran war will only last 4 or 5 weeks, and we found out through New York Times and others that Israel had promised them, it's only gonna take a little bit of time. Now we've already lost 18 people from the armed forces. We've already got over 600 casualties, but now things have gotten so bad on that aircraft carrier that our sailors are beginning to jump off the ship. It's crazy. Like they're so frustrated that they're risking their lives, they're deserting, and so this is an amazing story. Elliot's got the facts for us on it.
Yeah, so Annabelle Loma's husband is one of those sailors. Loma said this to Navy Times. She said her husband had been repeatedly overextended before he tried to jump from the carrier. He's scared. He thinks he'll get a dishonorable discharge, and just because he was burnt out, his 13-year career is ruined just like that. That's not fair. That's not right. That's not what he should be worrying about right now. Annabelle is tending to her 3 children in the meantime. She said, I'm trying to keep a happy face for our 3 kids. They're little, they miss their daddy, they just want to know mommy and daddy are okay. So I can't just worry and break down even though I want to every single day. We know more thanks to Maria Rodriguez, another wife of the sailors. She stated that her husband stopped another sailor from jumping off the ship. Rodriguez said her husband called out to the sailor before reaching the individual and grabbing their arms, pulling them onto the deck. He said he hadn't felt adrenaline like that in his life, and he was just so thankful he was able to get to the sailor in time to stop them from going overboard. The Navy has been meeting with sailors' families and claiming there are safeguards on ship, including deployment resilience counselors. Vice Admiral Joseph Cahill, commander of Naval Surface Forces, told families, "We hear you loud and clear regarding the impact this has on families, on service members, and the long-term ability of us to sustain our forces' health." But the families are not happy at all. One woman questioned the mission and said she found it difficult to be proud of her sailor when she believed the military was, quote, killing innocent civilians, and her sailor expressed guilt about what he was doing. Her comment was met with applause from the audience. But it's not just husbands and dads that are on the ship. There's also moms there too. Shelby Sanders, whose mother is serving aboard Lincoln, said connecting has been difficult over the past 8 months. When her mother does manage to send a note, Sanders said she can tell she's struggling. When she can email me, she's definitely down. I think they had 5 weeks of nonstop combat operations or something like that, so that makes it really tough to communicate consistently or even know if we'll be able to. It sucks. Sanders, who is about to start her senior year of high school, said that all she thinks about is when she can see her mom again. The Navy claims that the USS Abraham Lincoln will be relieved by a different ship soon, but they have not offered any kind of a timeline on when that might actually happen. So, Cenk, crazy story. What are your thoughts?
Well, the Israelis told us that regime change was going to be easy and that Iran wasn't going to be able to block a Strait of Hormuz. So we weren't going to need the USS Abraham Lincoln there that long. If you watch this show for 5 minutes, you know how we feel about systems built to confuse people so someone else can profit. Medicare is the same kind of maze, whether you're on it now or helping a parent through it. And before the comments start, don't you guys want Medicare for all? Why promote a private company? Well, until we get the system we actually want, which is definitely Medicare for all, people still have to survive on the one we've got right now. And most people helping them get paid more to steer them wrong. Same rigged incentive we cover here every day. That's why we work with Chapter, independent Medicare advisors who are honest, not paid to push one plan over another. They're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide completely free. Take Chip, a member of our audience. His old broker milked him for commissions. He called Chapter instead, found a better plan, and now saves over $100 a month. And if you're already on the best plan for you, Chapter will tell you straight, no upsell. Get help against the rigged system. Call Chapter for free under 20 minutes at 805-201-2275. That's 805-201-2275. Except now it's been 8 months for their deployment in particular. And so they're going stir crazy, and among other things. By the way, a lot of things are happening in our ships. The laundry room blew up. A lot of people were injured and they had to take the ship back in. We don't know why that happened, but one of the things that people say is, yes, when you're deployed too long, things start to go wrong, things start to unravel. And there's human error in there, and plus there's just things breaking down because you've been at sea too long. So I know what Mark Levin would say. He'd say, "Oh, shut up, 600,000 people died in World War II, you need to die more, right? You haven't died enough for Israel, you're weak." Okay, Mark, if that's true, why don't you go die for Israel? Okay, why do you make our guys do it? So why doesn't Israel have an aircraft carrier that's taking care of this war for them? They're the ones who wanted the war. 80% of Americans don't want this war. But no, you have to suffer for them. And that's just a fact. So, and why don't we have politicians who look out for us and who bring our moms and dads home to their kids instead of it making them suffer out there? At this point, there's a story out we covered earlier in the week that where Donald Trump is saying, yeah, you know what? Maybe we don't need to get rid of their nuclear program at all. Let's just come home if they open up the Strait of Hormuz.
Incredible.
First of all, great, yes, is my answer. Second of all, told you, this has nothing to do with their nuclear program. That was just an excuse. Well, and do you remember in the beginning of the war, Elliot? They said, we have a laundry list of things we're gonna do. We're gonna do regime change, everything is easy, right? And you need to get rid of every ounce of uranium on there, not just the nuclear weapons program, but their entire nuclear energy program. And then they had this laundry list of things we had to do, including destroy every ballistic missile and every drone that Iran had. Why? Why do we have a responsibility to destroy every drone Iran has? What does that have to do with us, right? If you're not in a war with them, you don't have to worry about Iran's drones. Israel says, yeah, but they could affect me. And that's why you would get your sailors to sit in a ship for 8 months. That's why you would endanger your troops and your airmen to fly the missions above Iran and to be the potential ground troops. But Israel says, no, you have to do it for us. Otherwise, you're anti-Semites and we're gonna destroy your life.
Yeah, also as a result of this, we helped turn Iran into like a substantial global power that it wasn't previously. And then they did actually exercise their ability to close the strait. So the whole thing's been a catastrophe. But also when these sailors are worrying about being dishonorably discharged, there's an economic anxiety with that too, because that means that they would lose a lot of their health benefits. They would lose the ability to go back to college if they wanted to. They would lose their ability to have a burial in a military cemetery. And so that means these people are suffering in multiple ways. And also, there was this story I saw last week. I saw it in Bloomberg and then very few other places. But there was some report that between June and July, US cyber forces experienced what they called a suicide cluster because 5 of their folks took their own lives. And it's also being said to be a result of being overextended as a result of the war in Iran, as well as the so-called AI arms race. So it seems like behind the scenes, a lot of the people that are working for this military and for our government are being stretched way too thin right now. And it doesn't seem like the people at the top particularly care about them at all. And so this is an incredibly tragic story.
So about a week ago, covered a story from American General Grinkowicz, who had a really fascinating and what would be an odd quote if we had a normal country or a normal government. He said, we're running so low on munitions that we're forced to defend the homeland instead of Israel. Now, what a strange quote that is for an American general. Why do you have to be forced to defend your own homeland? Shouldn't that be your top priority? And it felt like he was apologizing. I'm so sorry, Israel. Obviously, our top priority should be defending you and helping you start wars and then doing all the war for you. I'm so sorry, but we're in such dire straits, we're gonna have to protect Americans. Yeah, that's your job, is to protect Americans. What the hell? And look at even our generals assume that their top priority has to be serving Israel. And if they are not serving Israel, they have to apologize for it. This is just insanity.
If you want to talk to about the homeland, I mean, I can't think of a single time in history that Iran has attacked America on our homeland. I can think of times when the US military and the US government has attacked Iran on their soil. I can't think of a school here that's been bombed or children that died as a result of Iranian military action. So all of this just seems like smoke and mirrors. And I think there's a little bit of denial that this entire administration is in about this war, which just seems to be a done deal. And it just simply didn't go our way. So when you're watching people on MSN or MS Now and they're going like, well, why can't Iran just like capitulate to what we want? Like that's what you're supposed to do here. And they're not doing it. It's baffling to them because I don't think we as Americans are used to having to have some kind of a humility and go, actually, maybe our imperialism, maybe our constant warmongering isn't good for us or the globe.
That sounds crazy. It's got to be good for everyone, except the guys, of course, on that ship. They're going to have to suffer, and their families are going to have to suffer. And of course, guys, you all know this. We gained nothing from these wars. They called it a global war on terror, and it turned out to be a global war on Israel's neighbors. Every country that Israel wanted us to attack, and they literally gave us a list of 7 countries around the time of 9/11. You're to attack these countries, and we attacked all 7, and we wasted $8 trillion doing that, let alone the thousands who died in Iraq. And so none of those wars had to happen. They were not for America at all. And by the way, one of those countries definitely did attack us. Actually, Iran also attacked us back in 1983 through Hezbollah. But the part that the media never tells you, they tell you that part 1,000 times. Oh, 83. A long time ago, but if you go back that long, no problem. Israel also attacked us. They attacked us very directly, not through a proxy, not through something else. They literally bombed the USS Liberty, killed tons of US sailors on the ship, and nearly sunk the whole thing and nearly killed everyone on board. Super lucky that they didn't, and tons of casualties, injuries as well. But a lot of people don't know that because our media says, shh, never tell them what Israel's getting. Never give any of the downsides of Israel, because otherwise we might not serve Israel. Yeah, it's way, way past time that we serve our own country and our own citizens and not another country.
Yeah, and great clarification you made also with the war on terror. Halliburton made, I think, what, like $80 billion? I don't recall seeing any of that in my own bank account, but I don't know who did actually. So these things are going to profit some people. I just don't think it's the American people one bit. So
yeah, they definitely profited the oil companies in all these wars, and they most definitely profited the defense contractors, including Halliburton, but all of them. So yeah, if the Iraq war, the Iran war, giant disasters for America, but we didn't all lose. All those lobbyists and all those donors and Israel, they all got exactly what they wanted. The only people who never get what they want is the American people. For God's sake, get money out of politics so we run our own government. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.